don't show prep. So, so he had no idea.
I just barely make it in.
I'm sure you can tell, but we don't show.
I mean, let's put the cards down on the table here.
Illustrious. Like your styles.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy, ha ha. It's a 6-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real Portland live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the 6-ring champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad. The 6-ring Kane show. The 6-ring Kane show. The 6 Rings Kane show. You know.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the 6 Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 6 Strings Kane Show, joined by DJ and Blue. How's it going, guys?
Good. How are you?
Blue is on mute, but I'm assuming he's doing okay.
Good to see you, Blue.
Hoping, I'm not.
Yeah,
there we go. Hoping Jazz will be joining us still. Guess the new Twitter DMs might have made the link. I reposted the link, so hopefully you'll see it. But while we wait, I can go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsor, which is 305-800-PAIN. After an accident, every minute counts. With one call to 305-800-PAIN, you get immediate access to trusted doctors and attorneys who guide you step by step. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, they are a brand you can trust. Much like 5 Reasons Canes, 305-800-PAIN is focused on the local community of Miami-Dade County and South Florida to handle all your accidents needs, including car accident, personal injuries, and related legal matters. So after an accident, be sure to call 305-800-PAIN. The number is the brand, 305-800-PAIN. Después de un accidente, cada minuto cuenta. Con una llamada a 305-800-PAIN, ustedes pueden obtener acceso inmediatamente a doctores y abogados para ayudar con todo el proceso. Con una clasificación de A+ del Better Business Bureau, pueden confiar en ellos. 305-800-PAIN tiene mucho en común con los 5 Razones Canes. Están enfocados en la comunidad local de Miami-Dade County y el Florida del Sur. Ellos pueden ayudar con todo después de un accidente, incluyendo accidentes de carro, lesiones personales y otras cosas legales relacionadas. Entonces, después de un accidente, llama 305-800-PAIN. El número es el nombre de la marca, 305-800-PAIN. All right, well, the Canes definitely didn't need to call that number this weekend. So they dominated NC State, best performance of the year. Blue, I know DJ and I kind of talked about that on yesterday's instant show. Looks like Jazz is not going to be able to make it. That's some late breaking news here. We can break on the show. But Blue, what were your thoughts overall? Like, what? Frankly, what was that? They've kind of been stumbling down the stretch here a little bit. That just unloaded what was probably the best overall team performance we've seen out of this team probably all season.
Yeah, by far. At one point, kind of quipped in the press box that Dawson was calling NC State's game this week. Because they certainly were the number one offensive team in the ACC coming into the game. Haven't scored almost 300 points in the last 6 games total. So Miami came to play, and yes, we have an outside running game, and yes, we have guys that can run under a 4.5. So that's what happens on the offense. And gone to trickery, which we could have used against Louisville. But you know what? Whatever it is, Miami is 8-2 and coming up with James Franklin and the Virginia Tech Hokies.
Yeah, we'll get into that big news day in Blacksburg. Of course, every time Miami Week comes around, someone does something. But we'll get into that in a bit. So we'll just get a little bit more specific. Let's start with the offense. I know you mentioned the trickery, obviously. Malachi Tony is being kind of deployed throughout the offense at this point. But what else did you see that you liked? So I don't think those plays work unless you set them up and you have other things working. So overall, what did you see that you liked out of this offense?
Throwing to more and more people. Now I know DJ slept pretty well Saturday night, knowing we targeted the tight ends 4 times. So which is usually 2 times more than we usually do.
That's a marked improvement at this stage of the year.
Yeah, definitely, especially on the heels, and I know we'll talk about it, of them getting a commitment from a major tight end. But, they, not that NC State's defense was really good, but it's never about how good the opposition is. It's how good you execute. And Miami executed, and they did, I looked up, ironically, I should never say anything, but in one point of the game, I said, hey, Jesus, Miami's only made 1 penalty, and then they made 1. But that's the difference when you cut down on the penalties, and you don't throw 2, 3, 4 interceptions a game, you become that 41-7 winner, like basically all the games should have been along the line, to tell you the truth. I mean, you could talk about how great SMU is and how great Louisville is, but Miami's got a lot better personnel, and when they're on all cylinders, that's the result you get Saturday. And the great thing is fourth quarter, we finally got a chance to see some kids that we hadn't, and that was refreshing because, no secrets told, 70% of that team is going to be gone to graduation or whatever. So you got to kind of look at what you have. And yeah, that was the most exciting part, that they got an opportunity and they had enough breathing space. And it was a total domination, 585 yards, not a lot of mistakes, knowing that we'll.
I was mentioning this to DJ yesterday, but obviously you're watching the game, you're kind of, you're paying attention to the nuances, you're maybe not looking, at least I wasn't looking at the stats. And you could tell in my head, I'm like, Miami's dominating this game. And I looked at the scoreboard where they had the stats at one point, the third quarter, the yards was like 460 to 50 or something like that.
Yeah,
wow.
79, right?
Yeah. I mean, they only got over 100 yards off that last drive against the fourth stringers. It was something to see.
Yeah. Well, 2 is I got probably, and not to pat myself on any back, but I mean, I probably got the best vantage because I'm at the game live, but I also have watching the game on TV up in the press box. So, so I could see a lot more, during the game, because Vish, the games upstairs are like on an 8-second delay. So after the play is over, you get to see the live play without saying, "Oh, I wonder if they're going to run that back." And and you see a lot of good things in the game, and they just they just play very well. I mean, that's. But you know what? That's the way they should have been playing all along, and. I've been an advocate, and I've always said this, that if you're wearing that uniform, I don't care if you're a 14-year-old freshman, you can play. And that's what Gerard Pringle should have been doing from the beginning of the year. Because
let's unpack that a little bit. And DJ, you can come in too. So Blue, you mentioned they were finally able to empty the bench a little bit earlier, get a lot of these younger players some reps. Pringle is one that probably 2 or 3 weeks ago would have been one of the guys getting those end of fourth quarter carries. Instead, he started this game. Is that maybe that's permanent now? He's just starting running back. Is that where we're at? DJ, you can go first.
I'd say, yeah. I mean, when you look at what he was able to do both in the running and passing game, catching the football, I mean, he is such a dynamic playmaker. And like kind of like Blue mentioned, we could have, and you too, Vish, we could have used this like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I hate to be that guy, but the whole game in general, I was just thinking, where was this team against SMU? Where was this team against Louisville? Like, when this team is firing on all cylinders, they are unstoppable. And they really showed it on Saturday, like we talked about. But as far as Pringle is concerned, he is such a dynamic playmaker, and we were kind of wondering how he would do because he had a great game last week, and coming into the North Carolina State game, I was interested to see what the follow up act would be, and he followed up well, and I'd say he's the starter for the rest of the year, and bodes well for the future of the running back room as well. You guys talked about a lot of the younger kids getting reps and showing what they're made of. He definitely did against the Wolfpack.
Yeah, Blue,
Yeah.
you think even if Fletcher comes back, Pringle will be the starter?
Well, go ahead, DJ. It's your subject. Go.
I mean,
No, it's both
I
of
think-
you. It's both of you. Everyone
Well,
come in here.
you can go Blue, and then I'll
No,
try.
I thought one of you go and the other one follow up. I'm interested in both your opinions. So
Well, obviously, if he doesn't start, he's got to get a lot of reps, because he deserved it. And that's the one thing that Mario Cristobal said since he gets here. If you practice well, then you're going to play. And I'm sure he's done well in practice. You can't not see him not practicing well because he's so quick and he gets out and he's not, for a little guy, he's not lighting the ass. So he doesn't go down on the first hit. He'll always move forward, and that's a mark of a really good running back. But, you think about this because we kind of looked at the beginning of the year and said, wow, that running back room, with Fletcher, we didn't know much about about Brown at the beginning. We knew that he was coming in from, and he's a hard runner, but we saw what he brings to the table, as a tackle guy. And he gets, he does show some flashes of getting out of the backfield a little bit and catching the ball like he did the other day, and also getting a little bit outside. And then, like I said, having watched Chris Wheatley-Humphrey since he was like 13 or 14, he's the same. He's just bigger. And, give him a little bit of he had a couple of good runs there, but it was kind of garbagey time. But he's going to be that same guy. You bring in you bring in the kid Mallory, from West Boca. And then he'll be in that same situation as a tail end guy, while Brown, Wheatley-Humphrey, and Pringle get a lot of the carries next year, and they'll probably bring in another back from somewhere else, I'm sure. And but that's how it is. But yeah, to answer your question, because now everybody could see, and Dawson could see it as well, that you have a variation. It's just like receivers. Not everybody's at X. Not everybody's at Y. You always have a purpose in what you do as a receiver. A lot of people can't spread the field, but the same thing with running backs. You have your tackle wear down guys, like Fletcher and Brown. And then you have guys that can get yourself outside and create some space. And not only that, back the damn linebackers up off the asses of the defensive linemen. And that's been the problem over the first 8 weeks, where they were so predictable on what they were going to do. The defensive coordinator of the other team, Vish, didn't really have to think. The thinking was done for him because Miami was running that same play, those same set of plays over and over again. And when they did go up top, it was to a receiver. Now, because remember, the running backs are the responsibilities of the linebackers. So if the linebackers see that the running backs are going to just, run, and they're not going to be lethal out of the backfield, and not going to decoy and pull, an inside guy outside, then it makes their job easier. And I think what Dawson, whether it was by design or whether it was, mirror ball or whoever's calling the running plays, who knows? And but my feeling is this: is you're defense is only playing on reaction of what your offense is doing. And that's the adjustment part where Miami wasn't readjusting, where you start out the game and then Fletcher maybe break off a 9-10 yard run, and then you come right back to him, and then he'd be stopped at the middle, and then the linebackers would say, "Oh, wait a minute," and the coordinators would say, move up, because he's not doing anything else, and they don't have a guy that's going to break this, the first, right, DJ? I mean, if you don't have a guy that's going to break the first plane, then what the hell? Why waste yourself going, playing 6 yards back?
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at the type of running back that Miami has had, Fletcher's great, but a guy like Pringle has that kind of slipperiness to him, if that's a word. He kind of has that elusiveness and that big playability that kind of forces the linebackers to think, is he going to break off a big run, or is he going to be, a mismatch in coverage out of the backfield? How do I have to play him? I felt like Pringle, kind of gives that dual threat, if you will, kind of, test for the defense, whereas Fletcher and Brown, again, great backs, but they don't offer that same type of versatility. I think Pringle brings that to the table.
Yeah. And Vish, the one thing too is you have your ex receiver who usually runs off your safety, So what if he does that? He can, if you're a back like the two big backs, it doesn't matter because the free safety is going to catch him. But if you have a situation where Pringle gets through that first line and gets past the linebacker, then who's there? It's usually the strong safety, but if the strong safety is getting run off by an X or maybe a tight end, then that's the thing that, that's the intricacy of the offense. And that's what now the defenses are guarding against. They're moving people back. So automatically when you're like a Pringle is getting 2 yards, he'll get 8, he'll go right to that next level, which is 6 yards back.
Well, that's also why it's important to be decisive and quick. Because as they're, like you said, as the safeties are kind of dropping back to protect against the deep ball, but once they get to run play, they're coming back up. You do need to, be decisive, make the cut, hit the right gap. And I don't think our running backs have done a great job of doing that this year, even though they've been effective. So I think that's where Pringle has distanced himself from the rest of the running back room. Just clearing out some of the chat here. Thanks, Mr. Overdose, one of our normal viewers. You've got some fans in the chat, Blue. Not surprising. Musical ambassador and Orange and Green Blood. Totally agree. It's not, man. Sometimes I pinch myself. I'm doing a show with Blue, to be honest. but
me too. Like
it's absolutely
the fact that he likes what I have to say sometimes really kind of blows my mind, to be honest. So.
Blue is too humble to do that. He'll name little background on this show. Sometimes he'll just randomly mention he's winning major awards or doing stuff with the NFL and all this. So just casually drop it. He doesn't like the attention, but
no big deal to Blue, right? I mean, man,
no big deal. I will say Brown, did run pretty well. He did fumble, which big no. It was on a pass actually, and I think given that he's the only running back that's shown any ability to catch the ball and do anything with it this year. Now Pringle did too. Yeah. See if maybe that even expands his role a little bit more. I would like to get let's see. Everyone's take on this player. I don't think Lyle will be the go-to back. I'm gonna throw that out there, but he didn't play at all. He wasn't on the injury report. And interesting enough, CJ Daniels, I don't know what's going on there, but Mario said he was healthy enough to play. He did dress out initially, went through warm-ups, didn't play. And Mario said, well, JoJo, practiced well. Some of the other guys practiced well, so he was comfortable just rolling with them, which obviously was fine. The game was a blowout. Lyle did not get that same treatment. Went to Wheatley Humphrey third. He and Brown basically split the backup carries behind Pringle, who started. Is that basically, because even Lofton even caught a touchdown. I mean, everyone was contributing, and Lyle didn't get on the field. Blue, do you think that's this is the writings on the wall here?
Yeah, because remember what Mario said at the beginning of the year: if you're hurt, you dress. And so if you're in uniform, because everybody, that's the one thing you got to remember, the media up in the press box are like hawks because, I mean, they don't miss a thing. They have their binoculars out and they'll find you if you're on the sideline. And that's the one thing, talking to Marcus Benjamin, who I sit next to from Rivals, and, because those people are more into the recruiting angle of things. So they want to know because that's going to be one of the questions that running backs going to ask. Hey, I remember that Elia was being coveted by Ohio State, and everybody thought when Miami got him that it was the biggest steal in the world. And, now you don't know. I mean, because, everybody, it's sort of like a one-hit wonder. All you really remember him for is the long run against USF and mop-up kind of duty. So, he seems to get lost in the middle, and a speed back should never do that because he, first of all, shouldn't be running, that far inside. But you know what? I was reading, what Fire Marine Kane said about Mirabal, and it's. I don't really know the protocol over there. I really don't. I mean, and nobody really does because nothing gets out of that office. It's sort of like listening to Vrabel the other day from New England, when they were talking about a player. Oh, I heard so-and-so is out. And he looked at the guy and he goes, I don't know. He goes, but you know what? We got to get rid of the snitches. And, so, that's the thing that you never know because now people they just want to say something and that could throw everybody off. But I do know that the one time, Bish, when Mario did say that, talking about an injured, how come Joe, so-and-so didn't play? He was dressed. He goes, well, I could just tell you this. If you're dressed, you can play, without dirting anybody. But he just said, if you're dressed, you can play. We don't dress people that are hurt. And so...
Yeah, well, so CJ Daniels dressed for warm-ups, came out for senior day, and then went back and changed.
He could have gone, right? You're right.
He came back out in civilian clothes, or his jersey and pants, like normal, like he took his pants off.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what to do with that. I mean,
well, because they wanted to get JoJo in there, and he did, and he caught that nice pass.
He caught a pass, yeah. I think he caught the pass from Malachi, right?
Yeah, real nice pass, right up the field. But no, that's what I'm saying, and that was in those press conferences at the end of the game. They're funny because you get kind of sort of instant reaction, and they were, one of the reporters was asking about. Malachi Tony to Coach Cristobal. And he goes, boy, he's been really, really good. And he goes, yeah, but his passer rating went down. And I'm very upset about that. So, when you could joke around like that at the end of the game and even Beck said, listen, I watched his film of him going 15 for 15. He says he's a legit passer. He's got a really good arm. And, when you have time to kind of compliment each other like that, I like that. You don't have to dwell on, oh my gosh, we had to go into overtime with SMU, had no rushing yards. And how did that happen? And see, that's the thing. It's this type of game was a game where everybody felt good. Everybody played good on both sides of the ball, and I don't think that anybody really understands how valuable Davis has been as a kicker because that's only his second miss all year. And he's kicked almost 90% of his balls into the end zone and through the end zone. So, and we were all, and I'll be honest, I was really worried because I watched during the off season, some of the guys that were trying to be the kicker, and you don't realize how big the kicking game is until you don't have one. And I'll tell you, Davis has been an MVP, and he'll get second team ACC because he's got probably the best percentage in field goals and he's got the best kickoff percentage. So, I don't know how many great kickers there are in the ACC. I haven't seen. I know the punter of the year is from Syracuse, so I'm not even going there. But yeah, he's and it's good to see that, Bish. When you could see a lot of positive talk, about the game instead of what didn't happen or what didn't go right. Or so, I mean, and and you don't pick apart things, and I mean, it's a whole different deal when you've breezed through a game rather than, oh geez, that last drive we need that field goal, and so I mean, that's just
let's talk about I mean, you mentioned it was a complete game. We spent most of the time in the offense. Let's talk about this defensive performance, because it was, as much as the offense played well, it was against a defense that tends to give up yards and points. The defense shut down an offense that had been scoring at will on basically everyone they played. Had the previous ACC's leading rusher until he met Miami, and then he's no longer has that title. Let's talk, and obviously the Canes got some tough news in the middle of the week with Keontae Scott, who's been one of the better players on this defense all year. Sounds like he was listed as out on the injury report. Cristobal said it was serious. It's going to be a long-term deal. There's only a few games left, so that kind of might not see him again. But the rest of the defense kind of stepped up. DJ, can start with you on this. What did you think of the defensive performance, and what I would say, even when they played well this year, and they're a top 10 defense, one of the best defenses in the country. I don't think they necessarily get the credit for it, but even then, there's been games where there's still a few busts, a few explosives that things you're like, oh, I got to clean that up, miss the sack here and there. This was basically throwing a perfect game defensively against one of the best offenses in the country. What exactly did you see that you liked, and what do you think might carry forward?
I like their ability to get pressure, because when you give NC State time to throw, that's a recipe for disaster. And I thought they did a good job of getting pressure. And if they didn't get home for the sack, they at least took Bailey off his first read and made him think a little bit. And I thought they did a really good job of keeping him in the pocket. I know he's not really a run first quarterback, but they did a good job of keeping him in. They did a good job of disrupting his rhythm, and I thought they did a good job of reading his eyes. We saw on the interception, where he just kind of grabbed the ball, took it to the house, and made a nice play. So I thought they did a good job of getting pressure with the defensive line, and I thought they did a really good job in coverage too. Again, it was a full defensive effort, and you guys know this, when the defensive line plays well, that makes it a lot easier for the secondary to play well too. So I thought they played a good complementary football, on the defensive end with both the defensive line and the secondary. And that's something we haven't necessarily seen at times this year, but I thought they did a really good job of executing it on Saturday.
Yeah, real quick, Blue, before you get in there, shout out to Hawaiian Cane, $25. It's a big chunk here. Thank you.
Thank you.
And they didn't list the injury officially. We try not to. I'll be honest. I hear the same rumors everyone else does when they come out, and insiders tell me things, and I have absolutely no ability to vet those, nor time to. So I don't like to comment on them, because I can't stand behind any of the rumors that I hear. But just straight from Mario's mouth, when he says serious, long-term type of deal, and there's 2 games left, I think maybe down the road in the postseason at best. I'm assuming this is sarcastic. I don't believe that there's an investigation. The refs for taking bribes in the SMU game, and $68,000 doesn't appear to be enough money anyway. But so
you'd be surprised if you money, Vish. I don't know.
I mean, that's true. That if you follow the latest of the MLB scandal, why would millionaires $50K throw their career away? I don't know. But no, although if you told me that they were on the take, I would believe you based on the way that game was officiated. I don't. Just to be totally blunt, if they had any kind of evidence that just take that game out of the specific discussion. I feel like if any conference knew their officials took bribes, regardless of which one it is, the first thing they would do is try to cover it up.
Yeah.
Investigate it. Just being real here. They don't want a public investigation into their own crappy officiating. They would cover it up for sure. So,
big time.
Anyway, I'm assuming this is a sarcastic comment, but anyway, $68K, not enough money for that.
No.
Blue, your thoughts on the defense?
Well, first of all, I think Jacoby Thomas has made his he's the most valuable player on that defense. I mean, there's no doubt about it. 4 picks, 3 sacks, amongst the top 4 guys in tackles with 43, 44 tackles. Big play guy, steady leadership. That being said, and I think that what I said at the beginning of the year, when we were talking about some of the players coming back, and when Akeem Messidor made his commitment to come back for another year, that was the biggest offseason move that they made. I mean, this guy's he's a player. What are you going to say? I mean, you know what? He's not getting everything that Baines getting. Baines a stud, obviously, we know, but Messidor's not far behind. He'll be joining him in the NFL for years to come. I think the guy who one of the best pickups and a guy who's come to play almost every single game is Mohamed Toure. He's always around the ball. And you don't realize, because these guys are older, their leadership quality is everything, because you got a lot of younger guys in there. And then you look at guys like Keontae Scott, who's had an outstanding year. Wesley, and if you could see how much better Wesley gets when he's part of something and he's not the guy. Like he's been, last year they were counting on him so much because Popo was a newer guy and he was still filling himself in. Kiki Mauanoa's brother didn't have the greatest year in the world. So I think that this year you look at somebody like Wes Bassane. I even think a guy who I was kind of averagely down on for the first part of the season, who's really come up, is Zachariah Poyser. He's playing much better, but that's because of the guys around him. That's why they call this a team game, because you need people to play off. And when you have big play guys like Jacoby Thomas or Akeem Messidor or Keontae Scott or Mohamed Toure, they come better. Everybody becomes better. And I think that's my point, is this defense has not just been one guy, but it's been a bunch of people that have really made, like last year, they couldn't step up and make big plays. They were always looking to Bain to make a big play. But meanwhile, the back end sucked. So there's nothing you could have done. At least this time, when your front seven's playing well, and then all of a sudden your secondary's going lights out and coming up with big plays and being around the ball. Lucas too. This defense is really, really good. And that wasn't something that was on our bingo card last year, because they were horrible last year. So if anything else, from the defensive moves from Corey Heatherman, who, you watch him on the sideline and he's just animated. He calls it just a great game. And, and Jason Taylor's doing a tremendous job with his people. So yeah, this defense is really, they deserve to be undefeated. They really do, for the way they played, even in the losses. Come on, you hold SMU to no yards going into overtime, minus yards. So, yeah, my take is that this team, the defense, all the guys that I mentioned, I think all of them have been just lights out.
And you're seeing development on the defensive side of the football too, from a player like Bryce Fitzgerald, for example. He's come in and really helped, provide that ball hawking sort of physicality type of element to the secondary. And I know he's a freshman, but he doesn't play like it. And you talk about building and getting guys in Saturday's game, for example, that could build off of next season. Fitzgerald's been doing it all year, and he's a guy that I didn't really have on my bingo card to make a massive impact heading into the season, and he's definitely proving me wrong. So you're seeing development in real time as well, and Fitzgerald has paid off big.
Yes, started last game too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't agree with old Dave Portnoy there. You're pretty wrong, David. I'm sorry. You could eat pizza and judge pizza, but I don't know about making an assessment, because they're secondary over last year. Please, no. Please.
Well, there's two things there, right, Blue? There's anything compared to last year would likely look positive, but this is a defense that's legitimately really good. It's not just as a comparison. It's not just improved. It's a top 10 defense in the country, and everything kind of clicked on Saturday. But even, like you said, even when they're playing bad, it's still better than most teams' defense. So,
Yeah.
like the struggles we've talked about in very minutia level. Got to make those, handful of missed tackles. Definitely penalties have been a problem for the whole team. So there was always stuff to clean up. In this game, they kind of played clean. They made all the tackles. They made the plays. But this is a defense that has been good from the opening game through the 10th game so far. And again, the struggles have been, relatively speaking, giving up too many third downs and allowing teams to keep the ball versus last year was just touchdown on every possession. And they forced a punt. It's like, all right, where's the champagne here? We're going to go.
Last year, opposing offenses rarely got to third down because they were getting first downs and heading right into the end zone on 60-yard touchdown passes. And, I mean, let's be honest here, too. Even in the losses, it's fair to say, and I know you guys have said this, but, as fans, we tend to look at, Miami played horrible and whatever. Louisville and SMU are good football teams. So, I mean, there is that element as well. And, yeah. So
yeah, and so before we talk VT, there's another. I'm glad you brought that up because somehow, all right. So obviously, look, the Canes. We all want to win the conference. We want them to go undefeated. They lost 2 games, but we addressed this a little bit on yesterday's show, DJ. But
you did. My head was spinning.
I think we're all expecting the playoff rankings to come out tomorrow, and for the Canes to be seated behind several teams with significantly worse resumes, including one that they beat. And I do think, to your point, DJ, our fans have an expectation of our teams, and we do as well, that they should not lose to SMU and Louisville. However, these are 2 7-3 teams. They're not terrible. One was by 3 points, one was in overtime. These are not bad losses. And for people to point to those and say, well, that means the head-to-head win over Notre Dame doesn't count is insane. It's ridiculous. And frankly, if it goes that route and Notre Dame is in this playoff and Miami isn't, Miami should not go play at Notre Dame next year. What is the point? Heads they win, tails you lose. Like, what's the point of playing? Don't play that game if that's the way the game's going to be. Why would you risk losing that game? It only counts if Notre Dame wins it. Like, why would anyone participate? Why would anyone schedule anyone if they just ignore the result? I understand, and keep in mind, the committee's criteria is black and white. They look at strength of schedule, and Notre Dame is playing half the ACC because of their affiliation. So they're also playing Pitt, NC State. Their last 2 games are against Syracuse and Stanford. They also played Boston College. So if there's one team where you can't point to and say, well, they play in a tougher conference. They don't play in a conference, first of all, but then the de facto majority of their games are against the ACC. And then 2 of their other games, they played Arkansas and Purdue, last place teams in their conference, both of them. Neither of them have won a conference game. So
USC,
it's not like
USC would be the best team they play because if USC knocks off Oregon this week, you got a shot to be in the...
USC is a good win. And I guess my point is, if the 2 hadn't played, you could start, parsing those things. But in order to ignore head-to-head, there better be a pretty big gap.
No, I agree.
Playing 6 ACC teams and saying there's a big gap, and the 2 worst teams in both the Big Ten and the SEC, and saying this big gap. I'm not saying Notre Dame is a good team. I think they are. But we're talking about throwing out the head-to-head record. There's got to be a lot more there than, well, this team is slightly better than that team or whatever they're trying to do here. There's got to be a pretty big gulf if you're going to ignore head-to-head. That certainly doesn't exist here. And again, this is black and white on their website. The other thing that's black and white on their website is common opponents matters a lot. I mean, Look, Alabama certainly went to Florida State and got pushed around. That still counts as far as I know. So
bad loss, bad loss.
Yeah, but only bad losses count for Miami because that bad loss is being ignored. And that's where both things can be true. The Canes should have at least won one of those games. We wouldn't really be having this conversation. But also,
you make a good point, though. You make a great point.
They're not being treated fairly. If Miami had lost to FSU, they'd be getting killed for it. So
you make a great point. Because other teams can play crappy games and not move. But South Carolina could be 27 points up on the road against A&M but yet A&M don't get penalized. You see, that's what I'm
Right,
saying.
exactly. And that's
both
where
of-
that's where I think the Canes have a right to be frustrated, especially, and it ended up not mattering because Clemson took the auto bid and SMU made the playoffs and Alabama didn't. But we had the same committee talk down to the Miami Hurricanes last year and said, while they put a 3-loss Alabama team ahead of a 2-loss Miami team, so the record is worse because the 2 losses Alabama had against 6-6 teams were not important because bad losses don't matter.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden losing to 7-3 teams is a cardinal sin, and you can no longer make the playoffs. It's just ridiculous. I think Miami has a right to be upset. I think we know which direction this is going in. Barring a bunch of upsets, they're probably going to miss the playoffs. There's going to be teams in there when you look at their resume side by side. The Canes will have a better resume. They will have beat one of the teams in there with the same record, and they will have had a common opponent advantage over several of the other ones. And yeah, and I do think they need to reconsider why you would schedule out of conference games with only the SEC teams in Notre Dame get credit for playing them. I mean, Ohio State's gotten a boost the entire year for beating Texas in the first game, and then Miami's winning the same weekend over Notre Dame doesn't count. Alabama getting killed by FSU doesn't count. It doesn't make any sense, but that's because I feel like they predetermine, this is what we want to happen, and they try to reverse engineer luck. I mean, how is Utah ahead of Miami right now? Utah lost to Texas Tech's backup quarterback by 5 touchdowns or something like that. I don't understand. Go ahead, DJ. You came off mute. I'm assuming you wanted to chime in.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, to me, they shouldn't even start ranking teams until, maybe early November. This whole preseason ranking stuff is BS. It automatically gives advantages to, the teams that were good the year before. I mean, just look at FSU. What was it, last year? 10th in the country, absolutely sucked. I mean, the preseason rankings mean nothing, and they shouldn't even exist anymore. And I think that's part of the issue, too. I mean, they're already pre-ranked based on what they did before, despite the fact that teams change rosters every year. And the whole ranking system, that preseason ranking system needs to change. I think we would see, different results come November in terms of where the teams stand without that boost already. Because Ohio State was number 1 in the country, and, they just haven't moved.
Right, and they are getting credit for beating Texas in the first game, while the Canes being Notre Dame is not being credited. Utah's best win is Cincinnati. No, it's Farsi. They can't simultaneously boost Notre Dame all the way up there and then they're doing both things at once. Notre Dame's a great team. Miami's win against them doesn't really count. You can't do both those things at once. So they're being contradictory. But yeah, I think we know which direction this is going. Unfortunately, it's been a slow journey to the point where records don't matter anymore. The conference logo matters. I mean, if you were watching the fourth quarter of the Texas-Georgia game on Saturday night, you had Kirk Herbstreit passionately arguing that if Texas beats A&M in the last game with 3 losses, they should get in. This is a team that's actively losing for the 3rd time, including to that Florida team that the Canes destroyed, by 25 points. In front of his face. I mean, that the games being played don't really matter. They have an agenda and they're going to push it, and it's unfortunate. And we should maybe become an independent and just play the same teams, and then we get quality wins instead of, because that's what Notre Dame's schedule basically is. The other thing that happens too, and to DJ's point, just real quick on this. One of the good things that was, with as much as like people decried the computer polls and all, they would actually treat the whole season as equal. And to your point, well, the point that you were making about, or when they had the BCS formula and they had the strength of schedule codified and like you knew how to calculate it, because if you notice, you'll see 15 different strength of schedules. Because they weight them differently and they do different magic to make the number, and there's not actually an official number they're using, and it's all garbage, again, to reverse engineer what they want. With that said, one of the things that's interesting is, so they look at the strength of schedule when they do this first ranking in November, which the only reason they do that is for eyeballs and for money. There's no actual benefit to having a playoff ranking every week.
No.
It would be more. It should be more like basketball, where we're going to release the bracket, not.
I agree.
And we're going to wait for the games to finish play, and we're going to look at everything
Yes.
and release them. Instead, it's every week for
Yes.
TV purposes, for money purposes. So what ends up happening is whatever your strength of schedule is at that point in time,
Yep.
when they do that first ranking, they're never going to drop teams for then playing weaker opponents down the stretch
Yeah.
and having that schedule come down. Because case in point is our friends in South Bend, their last 2 games are Syracuse and Stanford. Now, when that hurts their strength of schedule, you think the committee is going to drop them? Of course not. Now, the fact that Miami already played those when they started doing their rankings, and then they're baked into the cake, that does hurt Miami because they're, if you backload, so you can't win for trying here, and it's an absurd system.
You
It
just
is.
wait, Fish. We're gonna have a 64-team bracket sooner rather than later, and then we'll get the
God.
March
Oh,
Madness,
I would
effect.
say
Go ahead.
there are ways to do this correctly, because here's the problem that they're facing, right? And it is a problem. You're trying to figure out who's good between a bunch of teams that don't play each other. Largely, you play your conference, a majority of your games against your conference, and with these mega conferences, even 2 teams in the same conference don't play the same schedule. Well, if you watch European soccer, they already have a system for dealing with this that we should have stolen, which is because in that you play your league fully, and then that's how you qualify for these tournaments in the future years. And there's no interplay other than the tournament. So they have a calculation coefficient that determines, based on previous results, how far teams from your league, in this case would be a conference, advance, and that determines how many bids you get next year. It's like a 5-year rolling average, though it's not like every year they swap it. And then, we've been doing better. Like, let's say the ACC puts 2 teams in the championship game 3 times in a row. You get more bids, and someone else loses a bid, and so on. It's moving like that. But that would at least put the thing back to the conferences to determine how do you want to. Okay, we know SEC gets 4, Big Ten gets whatever, ACC gets whatever. Okay, they can figure out how to determine how they distribute their bids then. You take this out of people just making stuff up, because that's what this is. If I have to hear one more, well, if they played, this would happen. How the hell do you know? That's not the way to determine who makes a playoff.
Well, it is when you're a member of the committee and doesn't watch the games. When you
the
look,
good news is they have now, Baylor's AD was the head of the committee. He got caught up in scandal. He's suspended from Baylor and left the committee. And fortunately, they've replaced him with Utah's AD, who I'm sure will neutrally move Miami above Utah where they belong this week. This is going to end well. Anyway, that is not a conflict of interest at all. Ridiculous. How are the ADs for these schools on the committee?
because let's see, there's the
What's
Utah
happening?
AD, there's the
The Utah
Nebraska
AD is now
and
is now the chair of the playoff committee while they're overseated currently. Anyway, we'll see.
Sorry
what
if we
this comes
bored you
out
guys
tomorrow.
to death with playoff talk, but it is a conversation worth having.
Yeah, and I think we know where this is headed. But first, the Kings do have to take care. They can't complain if they lose one of these next 2 games. We got Virginia Tech this week. As we always say, there's always news when the Miami comes to town. This time, Virginia Tech has a new coach. He obviously won't be coaching this week, but he will be next year. It is former Penn State head coach James Franklin. Blue, what are your thoughts on this hire of James Franklin?
Yeah, great hire for him. Really good coach. He did, didn't win the big one at Penn State, but you know what? He won. He did pretty well. You got that team that, and I agree with what Nick Saban said. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You got them. You played so well. You got them preseason #1. That should be enough, to kind of put on your resume. And yeah, he'll do well. Good. A lot of passionate fans, as well as I do, when Virginia Tech's winning, that place goes a little bit nuts. So, if they get in that 9-10 stratosphere, they're going to be a tough place to play. It already is a tough place to play, but when you're winning and you're packing the place, especially for a 7:30 kickoff, and enter Sandman and all the craziness that goes along with it. Which did they give a kickoff time for this week?
It is at noon.
Okay. So that kind of takes this like playing LSU at noon. You take all the alcohol out of the mix. So so it
Although, I
becomes
mean, for some, noon might be.
yeah,
noon might
that's
be
right.
like
You're not
7 p.m.
yeah, you're not far from Appalachia. So
Oh no, you're right up in Appalachia. If you've been to Blacksburg, Blue, you are up in the mountain folk.
yeah, so whatever it is. But like I said, I mean, it's a really good hire. I happen to like him. There's a lot of coaches that I respect because unlike a lot of people who don't really kind of get a chance to know these coaches from recruiting and knowing the Jimbo Fishers and the Kirk Signettis and guys like that I've known when they were either GAs or position coaches or even players. You get to know them in a lot of ways. And James Franklin's a guy who, when he comes down to South Florida to recruit, and I'm sure he'll be, they'll have a lot more recruiting because Penn State, for some reason, has a hard on against getting a lot of kids from South Florida. But
Yeah, no, it's true.
But Virginia Tech, not so much though.
Yeah.
And,
Before you're getting your thoughts, this is an excellent joke I had to call out.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that is a great joke.
That is a great joke.
Love
Andy. So for those on the audio, he said they can't play the Sandman because you'll still be sleeping. That was excellent. That was very good. I appreciated that, man. DJ,
well, they went. Probably the best thing is when Metallica played at Blacksburg and
I saw that.
And James Hetfield and Hetfield Hetfield was. He says, "I think you know this song."
Yeah.
I think that
I
was.
saw
great.
it. It was awesome. The stadium started shaking. It was that was great. I mean, I know. I talked to Jazz earlier, and he was kind of iffy. I know you kind of have your reservations about Franklin to Virginia Tech and what that could mean for the program, but I love it. He can recruit the DMV area pretty well. He'll probably bring some kids from Penn State with him. Because that's usually how these things go. He's a good recruiter, and I do think while it was time for him to move on at Penn State, he still is a good coach. He just can't win the big one. And for the expectations that Virginia Tech has, as opposed to the expectations that Penn State has, I think it's a really great fit. And Virginia Tech is already a pain in the ass without James Franklin when they play Miami. So I think they'll be a pain in the ass for years to come. Can we beat them? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think it's going to be easy from here on out.
Yeah, this was as good a hire as they can make. They've kind of, since Beamer kind of went through some questionable coaching hires, this is definitely not that. And they do get, if you're not familiar with where Virginia Tech has historically gotten their players from, some from that Tidewater area in Virginia, but when they've been really good, they've been going into Pennsylvania and taking kids. And obviously Franklin has the ability to do that. And he's also, coached at Maryland too, so he knows that area.
The Jersey area too, New Jersey.
Recruiting. Yeah, so that's where Virginia primarily Virginia Tech gets their talent from. I don't think they could have made a better. I think it's an outstanding fit. Because I think a lot of times these schools don't consider who will fit well here. He will fit really well there. He's exactly what they need, frankly, to kind of bring some sanity back to that program, professionalize it. It's almost like what Mark Richt did here. We need to professionalize things, clean them up, get back to running a proper operation. He did that, and unfortunately, Manny Diaz came after, and then Mario had to do it over again. But just a simple act of, hey, we're going to practice properly. We're going to be properly organized. I know what it's like to win a lot of football games in the season. This is what it takes to do that. I know there's been a lot of focus on, him losing big games. Virginia Tech would like to be in some of those big games first, and he'll get them there. This is a home run for them, and they're going to be, as you both said, they're going to be a pain in the butt in a few years for a while now. He's an excellent coach. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if in 5 years they're better than Penn State is. Anyway, fortunately, he's not coaching this week. Kyron Drones is still the quarterback. Last year, he had a great game. I've talked pretty extensively about how much better the defense is this year. That was actually the first signs of, wait, is this defense bad? Was when Kyron Drones lit him up on that Friday night game last year. DJ, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on him? They are 115th in pass offense this year, so he's not having a great year. They're 86th in total offense. They do run the ball pretty effectively, 34th in rush offense. But what do you think about this matchup, the Canes D against Virginia Tech?
I think this matchup works out really well for the Canes defense. I mean, like you said, they don't really run the ball too well, and I think if you can just limit Kyron Jones in terms of scrambling and moving out of the pocket, then I think you're in business. One of the things that Miami is not necessarily even terrible at, but they have struggled with in the past is running quarterbacks. As a matter of fact, they struggled with Jones a little bit last year. Granted, it was a completely different defense than it is this year, but he does bring the dual threat element. I think he's an NFL type player. He's a very good passer. I don't expect him to light things up against Miami, obviously, but he is somebody to pay attention to. I like the way that this game matches up for Miami. I feel very confident in their ability to, get after Jones and make him uncomfortable, similar to how they played Bailey. And I don't think it's going to be like last year at all. I think Miami will win this one running away, but just as
we'll get your formal prediction in a minute. Blue, your thoughts on this matchup overall? I guess you can maybe do the other side of the ball. The Miami offense against this Virginia Tech defense. The defense is 74th in the country, worse against the run, 84th than against the pass, 68th. Are we going to see a lot of Pringle here? How do you think the Canes will attack this Virginia Tech defense?
Well, we have 5 days, and I've already seen the play that ended the game once already last year, and we'll see that 215 times, I'm sure, as a build-up, and I'm sure that's going to be the opening of the game. And last year, it came down to this play, and that's what everybody's going to talk about.
You know what? For some reason, I am going to Blacksburg. I did not think about that, and now I realize I'm going to hear about that from every single Virginia Tech fan. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, they have that on their mind.
I might have been a poor life choice there.
They're selling shirts. They're selling shirts with that play on it. That's what I heard. With the ball hanging out.
Well, they won't. They will not be able to sell a shirt with the receiver with possession of the ball because he never caught it. So unfortunately, barring a Photoshop, he never caught the ball.
Photoshop there. You should know. You're a graphic guy. So
but ironically, if they did the thing that they did this year, where they let you into the ACC replay booth, because the reason they called it incomplete conclusive, because everyone's like, well, he didn't catch it, but you can't tell he didn't catch it, was actually the logic people were using. You could tell that that Horton touched the ball when he was standing out of bounds, which means the play was dead, which is what they actually called. And no one knew why they called it incomplete because they didn't tell anyone. And then like a week later, they released a statement saying, well, actually he touched the ball, which he did. But by then that cat's way out of the bag. So if they had that booth conversation that they show now, they would have clearly said, hey, look, he's touching freeze it right there. He's touching the ball. He's standing out of bounds. The play is over there. No one has caught the ball yet. And that would have, cleared that up. But you kind of ruined my weekend, Blue. I'm not happy with you.
Well, in every case, to answer your question, Miami's got the advantage both ways, offensively and defensively. If they play their game in the last 2 games, it shouldn't be a concern. So I think they'll take care of business. And, it's just it's one of those things. I just, when you're better, you're better. And Miami's a much better team. Miami's a lot better than they were last year overall. And Virginia Tech is not as good as they were last year overall. So should bode fairly well.
Before we do predictions, so the Canes have gone on the road twice. They obviously blew out Florida State, lost in overtime to SMU and another earlier kick. Are you at all concerned about the atmosphere impacting the play? We'll start with you on this, Blue. The atmosphere.
Not at noon. maybe at 7:30, I would have said the atmosphere is a little bit different, but no, I mean, there's going to be a lot of fans, and certainly they're going to use last year as a rallying cry. You know that. I mean, and we can spoil Miami's chance. We can put a stamp on the fact that they don't belong in the playoffs, and that'll be it. And teams get ready for other teams like that. I mean, that's just how it is. And, that's how 4-7, 4-6, 4-7 teams knock off 8-2 teams. So, but I don't think that this is going to happen. I just think that Miami's got the formula. As long as they don't change up and start doing different things, but start Pringle out, let him run, let Miami get up, and then you got the quarterback who's played in environments a lot more hostile than noon games at Blacksburg. So, yeah, I think that I was worried about this game earlier in the year because I thought Virginia Tech would be a better team. And they're not. And I've watched them a few times, and Florida State just killed them. I mean, it was a joke.
That did actually surprise me because Florida State stinks too. That they were able.
Yeah, but Florida State also killed Wake Forest too. So
yeah, and Wake Forest has beaten some good teams this year. So
yeah, so you never know. Like I said,
this conference has a lot more parity than people give it credit for. By the way, the Cowboys are just throttling the Raiders. I don't know what I should do a show during every game. Anyway, DJ, you were all worried about the atmosphere again. The Canes have only played the 2 road games, Florida State and SMU. So it's still a little bit of new ground here.
No, I was worried if it was going to be a night game, everybody would have been drunk and rowdy and happy.
Oh yeah,
whatever. But not a noon game. I'm honestly kind of bummed it is a noon game because I love hearing the atmosphere on the TV and things like that. But I'm not worried. I really am not worried.
I am happy as someone going to the game. I'm happy it's a noon game. I do not like the cold weather and.
Oh, please.
I want the sun out. I don't
want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Oh, it gets cold up in those mountains, man. If it was at night, it would be freezing. I'm hoping.
I was there in '88, and I can tell you it was a night game in '88, I believe, or '87, one of those years, and it was night, and it was 25, 26 degrees with the wind chill probably in the teens, and that thing would howl through the window. I went through the wind, and yeah, no, I understand.
You Florida people crack me up.
You could wear gloves and everything you want, but I'll tell you what, if your feet get cold, everything gets cold.
I understand the criticism when it gets like 60 degrees here and we're saying it's freezing. That's legitimate cold.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't want to sit outside in 20-degree weather.
Yeah,
that wind chill stuff that gets you though. DJ, you know that.
I'm happy for the noon. That is actual cold weather. That's not what we complain about down here.
It could be snowing in 20 degrees in Boston, but if there's no wind, it's fine. But once that wind kicks up, buddy, like Chicago's the worst winter I've ever been to in my life. And
probably called the Windy City.
56, 60 mile an hour winds when it's like 18 degrees, forget it. That stuff knifes through you. Give me this 70-degree weather all my life. That's all I care.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Canes did get the earlier kickoff. There is still a trip to Pittsburgh. So. Cold weather.
Right?
Yeah, I'm doing all of them this year. Anyway, the line is 17.5. I double checked it this week after last week's line debacle. And Jazz has texted me his pick. He's got the Canes winning 41-17. So he's got them covering pretty easily by about a touchdown. DJ, we'll start with you. What is your prediction for this Miami Virginia Tech game?
34-10 Miami. They start off slow, but they hit the gas in the second half, and then it's all over.
What about you, Blue?
Virginia Tech comes down, makes it 7-0, but nothing more than that. I think Miami wins at 38-14.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think we're all around about the same score. I do think Miami will kick some probably more field goals than we'd like, but I don't think Virginia Tech's offense is going to really be able to do anything. So I've got the Canes winning 27-6.
Only 27?
Yeah, I think too many field goals. Going to settle. Play a little close to the vest early and nip away, get a couple of field goals and pull away and see the game out. All right, Lou, before we get to show and tell, a couple of commits that came in since the last show. May potentially mispronounce this, but Isaac Chukwura flipped from Pitt, I believe. Chukwura. There we go. It's better the second time around. Your thoughts on him?
The tight end? I didn't hear.
I believe he's defensive line. Isaac Chukwura.
Oh, Chukwura. Okay,
week.
Yeah. No, very good. I was concentrating on the Lanigan guy and also with the with the Dunnigan kid who was really a beast. Chuck Juarez. Yeah, these kids are all high-level kids now. I mean, there's no fooling around. I mean, these are big-time players.
And the same could be said for Logan Nagel. I guess those are the two that committed after the show last week.
Yeah. Miami's coming up with some really good kids. I mean, they're like now I believe they're within the top 10 and in a couple of places. With all the kids that they have in this class, I think that it is a great recruiting class. I mean, there's a lot of I think there's still a little bit ways to go. Because remember, if they're going to get these kids early in, it's about a month now. It's a month till National Signing Day. So I think that's going to be important to try to solidify a lot of these kids, especially to find out when they're coming in. And if they can get some of these early guys, I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, and especially there's only the one portal window now, so they gotta kind of get everything together. There's no double dipping and filling gaps. If you missed on things, you gotta clean it up now. So, yep, we'll see. All right, Blue, you got some show and tell for us?
Yeah, I do. I have a game that I went to back in 1983. The University of Miami visited the Houston Cougars. And went to this game. Miami won the game, I believe, 20-0. And this was a lot of fun. This is the Astrodome game.
Astrodome, yeah. I've been to the Astrodome.
Yeah, I had an opportunity. It was really nice. Simon Fletcher, who's playing the NFL, but Miami had all those really good guys because this was the year where Miami would come on and win the national title, first ever, right there. But I had a lot of fun at this game. I think Houston's really good. I've been back since. I went to Reliance Stadium since. But Miami had studs, obviously on this team. This was all the guys setting up. Kenny Calhoun and guy came up with the big plays. And, so this was a really good this was a good trip to Houston. And just one of many places that I got an opportunity to go to, over the years, and I've kept the programs as proof of where I went. So I had a couple of things today, but I wanted to unveil that as I like to get my road games in there. The guys at the times that I got an opportunity to go on the road, and it was back then, especially when Miami was dominating everybody. But Houston played them pretty tough, and it was. But that was it. Yeah, I got a chance to go to the Superdome. To the Astrodome 3 times. I got a chance to watch my beloved Mets play Houston back in the day, and a lot of fun back then. And I saw J.R. Rodney Richard back in the day pitch, and I've been blessed as far as getting an opportunity to go to a lot of these stadiums that a lot of we hear of now. A lot of them have been updated. Since I've been there, like Beaver Stadium in Pennsylvania. I went to the year where Miami beat them, and Donnell Bennett had a big year. And but they've added like 40,000 seats since. I went to Chestnut Hill back in 1988, 89, and they've made a lot of improvements in Boston College since then. I've been very blessed. I think next year I'm making plans to go to Harvard Yale next year.
Okay.
One of my good friends is the head coach at Harvard, and he's done a great job. Rick Orrick, and he's done a tremendous job. They won the looks like they're going to win the Ivy League again this year, and he's invited me because they got the home game next year. So then me and I'll pick you up, DJ. We'll go over.
Let me know, Blue. Yeah, let me know if you're around. And
that'd be a bucket list game to go to one of those Harvard Yale games, I think.
Yeah, no, that's always a big
little history. I just want to take part of the tailgate. It ain't no hot dogs at those tailgates. I can tell you that.
Do they hand out 401ks? What happens to that parking lot?
I have to take Vish with me too as a financial guy.
Hey, that's as close to Harvard as I'll ever get, so I might as well head out there myself.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well,
Yeah, that's
just to wrap up, Luckbucks has a couple of questions here. I believe that's Parrish. They switched the way that that YouTube does comments now. We get their username instead of their handle. Do they? It's more for next year. Do they stay in house with the quarterback position? I don't think so. I think both. I think Nick will get a chance to compete with someone they bring in. I think that's part of what they're gonna do.
yeah.
I don't.
I would hope so.
But look, so I think people need to understand that. Yeah, it is Parrish. Parrish watches all of our shows. He's regular. I can tell from his picture the name is a new one. Look, it's talent. It's a talent acquisition game. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. So they need to do everything. They need to recruit high. Darion Coleman will be here next year as well. They need to recruit at a high level, and they need to hit the portal. You're never set. I mean, look at Tennessee, right? They thought they were set at quarterback, could win for more money left, and now they're sitting there like crap, right? I mean, you got to have multiple options because the players do. So you can't just assume that you're going to have, anything. So I think any coach that's smart is very active in the portal and recruiting high school kids, and they're doing everything. If you focus on one thing versus the other, you end up like Clemson handing it to a defensive tackle and fumbling 2 plays in a row.
And if you develop a high school kid for 2 years and he does good, he's gone anyway. So
he could be right, and that's why you got to have options. I mean, we're getting these guys from, when we get in Cam Wentz and Carson Becks of the world, we didn't develop them, so someone else was planning on that guy being the quarterback, and then he wasn't.
Yeah.
So you gotta figure that out. And then on this one, I don't believe Dawson's been a head coach. I know it says again. I don't believe he has.
No.
My thoughts on that are he will take a head coaching job if he gets an opportunity. I think any coach does that. You're always trying to move up. So
Yeah.
who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
And then just like this is a good conversation. Any high school games you're looking at this weekend
Yeah, there's a couple. West Broward against Monarch should be a pretty good game the second week. But everything's week 3, guys. Miami Central, Northwestern, those type of games like that are going to peg the meter a little bit. But this week, I think Thursday. There's a game, True North against St. Andrews Academy. It's the only Thursday game. And then Friday, I'll probably be at West Broward and Monarch because I think that's probably there's not very many. Second round is really tough. Dillard got knocked off last week. They were 10-0, so anything can happen. But next week, Thanksgiving week, when we do our show next Monday, we'll have a lot of really good games. So I think we'll do Vish, on your little show notes, maybe do a little bit of a segment on that next week.
For sure. I think next week we might have to do it Tuesdays. I think, is that Heat Mavericks? I think I'm going to that.
I got a show Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll do Wednesday then. We'll move it around.
Okay.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can do the Monday. But we'll get it in.
Well,
We gotta
I'll run the
talk
show.
about
I'll listen to Blue Talk because I like doing that anyway. And
Nah, we don't want Vish to miss the coveted Pitt pregame.
Yeah.
Since he's going to be up there after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll do a Wednesday show then.
Thanksgiving Eve show.
Yeah, Thanksgiving Eve show. Well, that'll actually also get us the college football rankings for the show, so we can talk about that.
All right.
Do a high school roundup. I can get DJ.
Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of people wanting to go the day after Thanksgiving to some really good games. And we'll do it like kind of statewide games because third round is usually crazy because that sets up the final round before they get to state. So, all right.
Yeah, so next Wednesday it is then. We just show prepped online. I will definitely dedicate a significant chunk to covering all that, Blue. Oh, thanks for hanging in there with me. Oh, another long show. We have a lot to talk about these days. The team, hopefully they just keep winning so we don't look like idiots for spending all this time talking about the playoff rankings. They got to keep winning, so this is a conversation point. But Blue DJ, thanks for hanging out. Everyone, again, we'll be back next week looking at Wednesday. Oh, we will have buckets on Thursday after the men. Actually, the men and women play Thursday. The men are at home. After that game, we will be doing buckets, and I will be freezing in Blacksburg on Saturday, and DJ, you and I will chat on Sunday, hopefully about a win. I'll get with you on the time of that. I got to see what time I have to check out of my hotel. So
I can be up early.
But,
I can be up early.
yeah, we'll coordinate on that, but definitely look out for Sunday. We're gonna have our after show, which hopefully is talking about a win. Blue DJ, thanks for joining me. Make sure you follow us on 6 Rings Canes, 5 Reason Canes podcast, and you're on the YouTube channel right now. Go Canes.
Go Canes.
The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rings Kane Show. You know.